busted.
Hi book lovers, this is Jenny at Juliababyjen's reading room, and this is my June wrap up. I'm a little late on it this month, but that's alright, we'll still do it. This month wasn't quite as good a reading month as May, and May I read some fabulous books. This month I read a lot of good books, but not great books. Or really good books, but not great books, I guess I should say. I don't think I only had 2 5-star reads this month, which is kind of short for me, but I didn't have very many reads that I didn't like, so that I guess is good. I read a total of 26 books, that includes novellas. I will list below, link up all my reviews that I wrote. I didn't do a very good job writing reviews this month either. I haven't done a very good job on blogging this month. Really, it's been kind of crazy. So I'm hoping to get better with it in July. But without further ado, let's go through what I read.
The Goddess by Robin Grady.
This is a adult romance read, contemporary read, and I did it for my Julie After Dark blog as a blog tour. And it was actually better than I thought it was going to be. I figured it to be a typical adult contemporary romance. I mean, it was predictable in that way, but it also had a lot of historical aspect to it, but it was kind of a mythological aspect, because it wasn't a real history. It was a made-up history for this royal family in this small little country in the Mediterranean. So that was really pretty cool. I loved that part of it. So it did suck me in. I ended up giving it 4 stars, and it was pretty good.
Along for the Ride by Sarah Dessen.
This is the first Sarah Dessen that I had ever read, and I liked it. I didn't expect a lot out of it because, you know, it's a YA chick lit basically, but it was pretty good. I liked the main character a lot, and her struggles with her family especially was really interesting for me to read, so I gave it 4 stars.
Beautiful Disaster by Jamie McGuire.
Loved this book. It is a NA contemporary romance, and it was really good. I took it for what it was. It wasn't actually, you know, I've read so many reviews where people were over the moon about Travis. I forgot his name for a second. People were over the moon with Travis. Were totally in love with him and all that. And, you know, I didn't look at it that way. I just liked the story between the two. I thought they were both a huge disaster. It was like a train wreck you couldn't stop watching. But, you know, it was a good book. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4.5 stars. I would have given it 5 stars, but just certain things Travis did bugged me, and I couldn't give it a full 5-star rating. But it was really good.
Wrought and Ruin by Jonathan Mayberry.
I love this book. It's a great new dystopian zombie series. It's a YA book. I gave it 4 stars. And
The Girl in the Clockwork Collar by Katie Cross.
Second book in the Steampunk Chronicles, and I love this book. I love this this series. It's really interesting. It started off really slow for me, but once I got past about the first third of it, it was really good, and I had to read it all at once. So it was a great read, and I gave it 4 stars.
Lies by Michael Grant.
This is the 3rd book in the Gone series, which I love, and I love this book just as much as the other ones, and I gave it 4.5 stars.
The Madness Underneath by Maureen Johnson.
Love this series. This is the 2nd book in the Shades of London series, and it's totally different than anything else I've read in YA. It is a little bit of paranormal, but not an extreme amount, although the premise is kind of set over a paranormal premise, but it's not your typical paranormal. It's also very suspenseful. It's kind of a murder mystery. Both books they were each their own different cases. So that's really, really interesting, and the characters are great, and this is just a really good series, and this is one of the ones I gave 5 stars to. I love this series, love this book, can't wait.
You Are Mine by Janelle Salor.
It's a brand new author. This is her first book, and I actually got a copy from her when she released it. She offered it. I'm in a group in Goodreads, and she offered members, if we wanted to read and review it, a copy. So I got a copy, and I read and reviewed it, and I really liked it. It's going to be the first in a series. I don't know how many are going to be in the series, but she's already got the second book. She's working on it now. And I really liked it. It's very different. It's a YA paranormal, I would call it YA paranormal romance, but it's kind of an old-fashioned romance. A little bit of fantasy thrown in, and actually a little bit of a dystopian flavor to it too. So it's got a little bit of everything in it, and I really liked the romance in it because it was not front and center. It was more, the theme was definitely more women's live and survival. So it was really good, and I really liked it, and I gave it 4 stars.
Life After Theft by April Lynn Pike.
This is a really good author, and this is a standalone novel she wrote. There is a companion or novella, an ebook novella that I need to read, but it's basically a contemporary, but it is about a ghost. But paranormal isn't a huge deal in it either, so this is pretty good for what it was. I enjoyed it, and I gave it 4 stars.
Dust and Decay by Jonathan Mayberry.
This is the second book in the Benny Mara series, and I love this series, and I love this book. It was a tearjerker at the end, but it was really good. I gave it 4.5 stars, so it was good.
Dragonfly by Lee T. Moore.
Another one of my favorite authors. This is a YA/NA contemporary romance. It could be classified really as either. I would definitely say it's older YA. There is not graphic sex in it, so you could still classify as YA, but it is, I guess she's a senior, but a lot of the characters are a little bit older, and there are mature situations, I guess, in it would be the way to describe it. I liked it. It's a first in a series. It is, the next book comes out in July. So that's kind of nice. There's not a huge long wait, which is good because there's a little bit of a cliffhanger to it. But I liked it. I like this author, and I gave it 4 stars.
Wedding Night by Sophie Kinsella.
One of my favorite, I guess, fun authors. This is adult chick lit. I pretty much love all her books. This is her newest one, and it was really pretty good. Insane situation like all of hers are, but really, really funny. If you just want something to be silly, a good beach read, I would say. It was really good, and I gave it 4 stars.
Mind Games by Kirsten White.
This is a brand new book. It's a brand new series, and I would classify it as YA sci-fi suspense or thriller. It has a little bit of a paranormal element to it, but it's more of a psychic element, and the title is aptly named. It is one big mind game. You have no idea what's going on, which makes it great for the twists in the end. It's not a very long book either, which is great. I gave it 4 stars, and I can't wait to read what happens next in it.
Taking Chances by Molly McAdams.
This was probably the worst book I read this month, although it wasn't a bad book. I gave it 3 stars. It's a NA contemporary romance. It's a very complex love triangle story, and it has a very big twist, an unexpected twist in the middle of it that I didn't see coming, and that is mainly why a lot of people have given it negative reviews, is the twist. However, that is not why I didn't like it. I thought the twist was good. I thought actually the actual plot line was great. I thought the story itself was great, and I thought the characters were great. The writing, however, not so much. Fortunately, Um, I just think it needed some more editing, honestly, and I'm kind of surprised it was a big publisher house book, really, for the editing that it had. A lot of run-on sentences, um, pages where nothing made sense, almost like filler text. It just wasn't the best writing, and when I'm taken out of the story so much because I'm noticing that, it really takes it away from me. The first third of the book I really liked. I was hooked. I thought it was great. Um, I knew it was going to be a love triangle when I read it. I read the synopsis, so that wasn't a huge deal to me. Um, so the first third of it, I thought it was a great setup. The middle part of it, where the twist happened, the twist was good. Like I said, the actual idea of it just wasn't very well written. That's where I was just like, I was bored and just kept taken out of the story, and none of it made sense, and I couldn't understand what the heck was going on here. I mean, it was just so weird. And then the end of the book, I didn't really like that either, except for the very end of it. Like the last 10 pages were great. But yeah, so I don't know. It was just such a mixed bag, I guess. There is a sequel to it. I'm debating whether I want to read it or not. I kind of want to see what happens with the characters. But yeah, I just think it really needed some good editing is really what was wrong with it. So I gave it 3 stars.
The Assassin and the Pirate Lord by Sarah J. Maas.
It is the first prequel novella for the Throne and Glass series. There's actually 4 of them, and I only read the first one, and I really wish I'd read the other 3, and I still need to read them before I read Throne of Glass. I would definitely recommend reading them before Throne of Glass because it gives you great backstory into her character, Selena, how you pronounce it. It's really, it was a great novella. I really enjoyed it. It felt like a complete story. It was great. I gave it 4 stars.
Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas.
I loved, loved, loved this book. This is my other 5-star read of the month. It was, I think, the best book I read this month. I have to say, I love all different genres of books, but I think fantasy is my favorite. A really good fantasy, there's nothing that beats it to me. So this is a YA fantasy. It's a high fantasy. It's a whole world, and it's really well done. The characters are great. The story's great. The writing's great. It's all good. I can't think of a single thing I didn't like about it that I could nitpick on. Nothing. It was all good. So I really recommend it if you like fantasy. If you like fantasy. If you don't like fantasy, don't read it because it's a high fantasy book. So I gave it 5 stars and can't wait to read the sequel.
Ask the Passengers by A.S. King.
This is my other kind of bummer of a book. It wasn't as bad as Taking Chances. I gave it 3.5 stars. It actually, the writing in this one was really good. It's a YA contemporary. It's kind of a romance, but not really. I would call it more contemporary. It's about a girl who's dealing with the issue that she's gay. So I thought that was interesting. I've never read a book like that yet. And I could relate to her, not in the fact I'm not gay or anything, but the high school she went to was exactly like my high school, so I totally related to that, and I can completely relate to how she was feeling through most of it. The reason I gave it 3.5 stars was a lot of it didn't make sense to me. It had like this gimmick to it, where when she couldn't relate to anybody in her life, she'd go out to her picnic table, lay down, and watch planes fly overhead, which that's not weird, but watch planes fly overhead and imagine the passengers in there and send up her love to them. Now that's not so weird, but then it would cut to scenes of passengers in the plane and their current thoughts on whatever situation they were in. And it really had nothing to do with anything else. I mean, sometimes their situations were somewhat similar to hers, but it wasn't like she could imagine that. I mean, this wasn't a sci-fi paranormal book. This is a contemporary. So I did not get that. I didn't understand the purpose, and it just felt like a weird gimmick to me. So anytime we would cut to that, which was several times for the book, like every couple chapters, it totally took me out of the story, and I just didn't like it. I just didn't get it. It was over my head. So I have reviews where people really liked it. So I guess it was just not my thing. But the actual characters and the actual plot were very good on the book. So it did get 3.5 stars.
Dare You To by Katie McGarry.
This is the second book in the Pushing the Limits series. It's more of a companion than a second book in a series, but I still think it would be better if you read Pushing the Limits before you read this one, because you would get the characters better. This is Beth's story, for those of you who read Pushing the Limits, and Isaiah is in it, but I was led to believe it was going to be their love story, and it's not. It's them trying to deal with the fact that she's falling in love with someone else, and he's still got the hots for her. So their friendship is really rocky in this one. And I did write a review that, if you want more information, talks about it. I liked it. It was really good writing, really good YA contemporary romance. It wasn't as good as Pushing the Limits, but I wasn't really expecting it to be because I loved Pushing the Limits. So this one was good, and it got 4 stars.
Rouge by Lee T. Moore.
Another Lee T. Moore book, and I love her books, and this is my favorite of hers that I've read yet. This is one of her earlier ones too, I think. This is a YA historical romance fiction book, which was a totally different flavor. The main character is a girl who is a cabaret singer in New Orleans, 1800s sometime. And there is a romance in this, but it isn't really at the forefront, believe it or not. Really, it's about survival. She is an orphan, homeless, poor, and her mother was a cabaret dancer for this company, this show thing, and all the girls that join, they're all obviously orphans, poor, whatever. They are, they have no other place to go. So they sing and dance on the show, but if they're not very talented, they do what behind the scenes you would expect, I guess, whorehouse or whatever you want to call it, kind of thing. Well, when her mother died, when she was a baby, she got sick. She was a favorite of the man who runs this show, and she, on her deathbed, made him promise her that her daughter would never have to do that sordid stuff. She would only be in it for the talent part, which worked out great because she's the best singer in the company. So she doesn't really have that worry of that like the other girls do. But when she was about 12, this little girl showed up at the back door, 8 or 9 years old, and she wanted to keep her. So they let her stay with her. Her name's Piper, I think. And the little girl is staying with her. Well, now it's a few years later, and she's now worried of what's going to happen to this little girl if they stay in this company. She doesn't want that to happen to her. She's been trying to protect her, and the little girl has no idea what's really going on. She thinks it's just a fun show. So her plan is to try to get someone rich to fall in love with her so they can, be saved. Because back then, what else did you do when you're a woman? That's what you did. So that's basically the story. At the same time, she meets a stagehand boy who they fall in love, and he is poor, so she can't marry him. Well, in her head, she can't marry him. And so a little bit almost like the Titanic kind of a thing going on there. And then this other man who is the main guy's who runs the thing, his brother is who actually finances everything. It's pretty evil and has taken an interest in her. So some not so good things happening there. So the story is really, really good. I loved it. It is a series. There's going to be a sequel, so I can't wait to see that. It is, I would classify this more as NA than YA because there is a little bit more graphic sex and just the mature situations that she's in. It's not something that a little teenager would want to read. So I would definitely call it more NA, and I gave it 4.5 stars.
The Fifth Wave by Rick Yancey.
I was really looking forward to reading this, and it was pretty good. This is a YA sci-fi dystopian. It's mostly about aliens, so I like that part of it. There is several different point of views going on uh, through the book, and the main character point of view of Cassie, the main girl, I did not like. So that was kind of a bummer. But other than that, I really liked the story, and I gave it 4 stars.
Flesh and Bone by Jonathan Mayberry.
This is the third book in the Betty and Mara series, and I'm now all caught up with that series and waiting for the next release. And I love this one as much as the other two, and I gave it 4.5 stars.
The Runaway King by Jennifer A. Nielsen.
I was really excited to read this one. This is the second book in the Ascendance trilogy. It is more of an MG book, and it's high fantasy, and it's really good. The first book is The False Prince, and I loved that one too, and this one was just as good, and I can't wait for the third book. It's what I love about these books so much is the author is just amazing at pulling stuff out of a hat. I mean, I have no idea what's going to happen or where things are going to go, and then after the end, it's obvious. You know, it's like, oh, well, how can I not see that coming? But she is a genius at pulling it off without you even noticing. So I love that. I have so much respect for authors who can do that because it's really hard for me not to guess certain things. I'm maybe because I read so much, but I almost always can guess a general outcome of a story. And when they can throw a twist in there that I don't see coming, I think it's awesome. So I love this book, and I gave it 4 stars.
Mystic by Alison Noel.
This is the third book in the Soulseeker series. There's one more book in the series, and it comes out in November, and I can't wait to read that. This one was good. I liked it better than the second book, Echo. I was a little disappointed with Echo. Fated was amazing. Echo was still good, but not as good. But this one was back up to par with Fated, so that was good, and I gave it 4 stars.
Night School by C.J. Dougherty.
Get it out eventually. This is a brand new series, brand new book, and I really liked it. I was pleasantly surprised. I wasn't sure what to think. I had read a lot of reviews where people didn't really like it that much, so I just kind of decided to try it because the library had it, and I liked it. I thought it was going to be a paranormal. It's a YA book, and it's not a paranormal. It's not I don't know what to classify it as actually. Maybe more of a mystery or suspense. It's not really contemporary either, but I mean it takes place in contemporary time. But it's about these kids that are at this boarding school, and this girl, she goes there. She's in trouble. She's something bad has happened to her family. I'm not gonna tell you what in case you want to read it. But she's very troubled, and she's gotten herself arrested more times than she can count. And so they send her off to this school, this boarding school, and she thinks, you know, it's going to be like for delinquents or whatever. And it turns out it's a school for like really smart kids. It's like a really private school. I mean, no one's ever even really heard of this school. It's kind of a secret private school. So she can't figure out why she's there because everybody who's there is either super rich, which, you know, they have money but they're not super rich, or part of the school's charter, like there's certain board members, so if you're related to the board member you automatically get in, or you're extremely intelligent, and you know she's smart but she's not that smart, so she can't figure out what the heck she's there, and she's had no contact with her parents. They kind of just dumped her there, and she doesn't trust them at this point. So it's a big mystery as to why she's there and what's going on, because things are not normal. So it's a really pretty good book. It's not very, parts of it aren't very realistic, but I just kind of went with it and enjoyed the story, and I can't wait to read the next books in the series. I gave it 4 stars.
Wolf's Bane by Andrea Kramer.
This is the second book in the Nightshade series about werewolves, and I like this series and I like this book just as much as the first one. I'm really getting into this whole world. It's pretty cool, and I gave it 4 stars.
The Moon and More by Sarah Dessen.
her most recent book. I liked Along for the Ride, so it's summer. I thought, oh, I should read some summer reads. So I grabbed her newest one. And I liked it. It was okay. It wasn't as good as Along for the Ride. I did give it 4 stars. I just don't think I connected to the character in the story. It was a good story. It was well told and, interesting. The story itself was interesting. I just don't think I really connected with it, and it just didn't suck me in very much. So, but I gave it 4 stars. That was my June reads for 2013. Not too bad. My July has not started off very good as far as getting a lot of reading done. And I really hoped by this point in the summer I would have gotten more reading done than what I've got. I mean, I know it sounds great that I read 26 books, but I mean, really, I should have read a lot more than that. But whatever. Hopefully I get caught up for the rest of the year. I have just so many books I need to get off my shelf, and I'm not doing a very good job of that. So that's my goal this month, to read more books off my shelf, which so far all I have is library books, so it's not working. Hopefully I get there, but you guys have a great month, and we'll talk to you soon, I'm sure. Bye.
Busted.